One of the most exciting ways to start off a roller coaster is with a launch. And one of the best ways to keep that momentum going is with another launch. These are my 15 favorite multi-launch coasters that I've experienced around the world. And these rides come in all shapes and sizes. Not all of them have to be high, crazy thrills. I mean, one of the best family coasters out there, which spoiler alert does not make this list, is Fire Chaser Express at Dollywood. It's a great all-around fun attraction with a super low height requirement. Great ride for kids. And there's a lot of rides like this out there. But when taking this list into consideration, I was looking at all around full package, what delivered the best experience, and that could be in terms of roller coaster elements as well as thematically. There are a lot of great options out there, so let's jump right in. At number 15, we have GALEFORCE at PLAYLAND'S CASTAWAY COVE, which is actually an S&S multi-launch coaster. Typically, S&S uses air compression for their launches, but for this they went with linear synchronous motors, and this roller coaster launches you 4 times. It actually used to be 3, but now GALEFORCE sends you around the full circuit twice. It's located right on the boardwalk in New Jersey, so the location is fantastic. It's a great thrill packed into an extremely tight footprint, and I thoroughly enjoy it. Taking the next spot is the newly opened Icebreaker at SeaWorld Orlando. Much like GALEFORCE, Icebreaker has 4 launches, 2 backwards, 2 forwards. And while it's been marketed as a family thrill coaster, the best moments of this are very thrilling. Icebreaker has 2 different step-ups into the spike and top hat, and when you fly over that, you get some crazy airtime. The second half of the ride is a little bit more tame, but it's a great ride for this park and overall a fun experience. At number 13 spot, we have our first international coaster. It's also the first of these mock rides multi-launch coasters to make this list, and this is Icon at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. Icon stays pretty low to the ground, weaving between some of the other signature attractions of Blackpool. And actually new for 2022, they're sticking a rotating car at the end of the train so you can experience Icon spinning. And I'll admit, Icon wasn't as high thrill as I was hoping. Mach doesn't exactly have the most forceful launches, but it's a fun layout, and I think that if I got the chance to experience the spinning, it would probably place a little higher. For the number 12 spot, we're going to Busch Gardens Williamsburg for VERBOLTEN. This is the only multi-launch coaster from Zero, more of an obscure manufacturer, but they built one heck of a ride. Not only is it indoors and outdoors, but it's also really intense and features a drop track. Throw in some immersive theming, and you have a pretty solid ride. Although I'm not gonna lie, part of me does wish it was built by a different manufacturer. VERBOLTEN definitely has a shuffle to it. Layout rides, it's a great roller coaster, full of surprises and sure to thrill the average park goer. For number 11, we have COPPERHEAD Strike. CAROWINDS was in desperate need of a launch coaster, and following the success of some of the multi-launches in Europe from Mach, they sent one here. It also happens to be one of Cedar Fair's most immersive roller coasters. It's got a fun theme and a cool layout. Immediately after leaving the station, you go into a JoJo roll. And COPPERHEAD also keeps things unique with a launch that goes over an airtime hill. So while it's not the fastest acceleration or the most forceful, it's still a cool moment, and especially towards the end of the ride, you get some pretty fast-paced turns. So now we've made it into our top 10 with Full Throttle at Six Flags Magic Mountain. This ride will send you through 3 different launches, the first of which goes into one of the largest vertical loops in the world. And this is some of the craziest hang time you will ever experience. It is absolutely insane how huge this loop is. And while I wouldn't say the backwards launch is anything crazy, Full Throttle goes out with a bang with some crazy ejector airtime into the brake run. It's not the greatest ride in the world, but it's pretty unique, and that's why it made the cut. At number 9, we have a very different type of multi-launch, and this is a story-driven attraction. It's Revenge of the Mummy at Universal Studios Florida. It's completely indoors, sends you from scene to scene, and then a big awesome roller coaster section at the end. It's probably the best indoor roller coaster on the planet. It has a short backwards launch and 2 different forward launches, which the second one in its own is very fun because it comes out of a fake out ending. It's such a creative ride, and I definitely have a soft spot for it. At number 8, we're going with yet another Mach multi-launch, and this is HELIX at LISEBERG. Mach's done some awesome roller coasters, but this is definitely one for the charts. The terrain that they had to work with for this ride is incredible. It's built completely on a hillside, and they've managed to work in 7 different inversions. It's super unique and fun. The only reason why it isn't placing higher is because the actual launches on this attraction are not great at all. It gets you up to speed, but that's about it. You don't feel any force with it. You might as well be gliding on straight track. But for this, we're focusing on not just the launch, but the rest of the experience, and HELIX definitely makes up for it with layout. At number 7, we have another quad launch coaster. This is West Coast Racers, another ride at Six Flags Magic Mountain. This is one of the most unique ones out there because it is a dueling roller coaster, but you experience both tracks in one ride. You also get a consistent duel every single time, and it is so fun. It's a very enjoyable roller coaster with actually a pretty good theme. Six Flags Magic Mountain went all out with West Coast Customs. The ride is flying all around this area of the park they call the Underground. The ride features some very creative maneuvers, and overall is definitely a fun experience. Just barely missing the top 5 is our newest roller coaster to make the cut, and that is Pantheon at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. Intamin's made some incredible multi-launch coasters out there, and Pantheon is no exception. What makes this ride so interesting though is on paper, it looks like there's 4 launches, but they've actually taken the main back and forth launch section and cut it in half with an airtime hill separating the 2 sections. And so they're very much separate accelerations. It's very bizarre, but also cool. Pantheon's got some great elements to it, including an absolutely massive spike, a beyond vertical drop, and a 0G stall. Definitely one you'll want to check out. So now we've made it to our top 5. And number 5 is a ride that I absolutely love. It is so creative and so fun. This is Time Traveler at Silver Dollar City. This ride blew my mind when I first rode it. I'd never experienced anything like it. And I know they've since built another one of these over in Europe. That's Ride to Happiness at PLAYLAND'S. I have yet to experience that one, which is why I will not be making this list. But Time Traveler is incredible. It has a vertical drop straight out of the station, 2 different launches, multiple inversions, and you're spinning through the whole thing. But it's not out of control, so you won't get dizzy during it. But man, is it bizarre to take a vertical drop sideways and be facing backwards as you're going through a 0G roll. It is so cool. I absolutely love what Mach has done here. To this day, it's my favorite roller coaster they've ever built. And believe it or not, it is actually the only multi-launch coaster not built by Intamin to make my top 5. Yes, from here on out, we are dealing with Intamin rides. At number 4, we have TARON at PHANTASIALAND. To me, this is one of the most eye-catching roller coasters ever built. What the park did here was incredible. Weave such a twisted layout in and out of an immersive village. Everything is so medieval looking, there's rockwork everywhere, and you don't know where the ride is going next. It's a fast-paced thrill with some great launches, quick transitions, incredible theming, and overall a full package. And now we've made it to our top 3, and this is HAGRIDS Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure, the ride with the most launches on any roller coaster in the world, 7. And like Revenge of the Mummy, HAGRIDS is a story-driven attraction. You're going from scene to scene, riding in HAGRIDS motorbike, passing animatronics, you go backwards, there's a drop track, there's a little bit of everything on this ride. It's not too crazy, but what Universal and Intamin did here is incredible. To this day, it is the most expensive roller coaster ever built, and I can see why. The only reason why it's not placing higher is because some of the other rides are just a little bit more thrilling. And number 2, we have Maverick at Cedar Point. And what a little beast of a ride. This thing is not very tall, but man, does it pack a punch. Some crazy fast-paced transitions. You're whipping from one corner to the next over some awesome ejector airtime hills, rolling through inversions. There's a reason that this ride is such a fan favorite, but it is not my number 1 multi-launch coaster. That title belongs to VELOCICOASTER at Islands of Adventure. Yes, Islands of Adventure pulling my number 1 and number 3 multi-launch coasters. This park is stacked, and their newest thrill ride is absolutely incredible. It might be the best roller coaster in the world. It's probably the only ride I've ever ridden that has received such unanimous praise. I don't know anyone that's ever been disappointed by this ride, and I can see why. It's got the theming. The whole thing is themed to Jurassic World. It's immersive, not only in the queue, but also during the ride experience. It's got some of the comfiest trains ever and an outstanding layout. First half, weaving in and out of rockwork, flying past raptors. You hit the second launch, fantastic top hat, past the Discovery Center, and then you're weaving around a bridge over banks, through a stall, and then you have the incredible finale that is the Mosasaurus roll. And unlike so many roller coasters, VELOCICOASTER gets better as the ride goes on. I think that is what makes it so cool. There's not too many rides out there that are like that. I think HAGRIDS is another one that does that. This ride is an absolute gem, which is why it places at my number 1 spot. Now, obviously, I know I have not ridden every multi-launch coaster out there. I mentioned Ride to Happiness did not make this list. Another one that could potentially make it that I haven't done is Taiga at Linnanmaki. I'd love to get on that one day. But overall, I like to think that I've been on some of the best, at least for now. Parks are always building the next latest and greatest thrill ride, and I know that we have not seen the end to incredible multi-launch coasters, so it'll be fun to once again take a look at this list in a couple of years and see how things have changed. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to stay tuned for more here at Coaster Studios, and we'll see you next time.